man, are you a sight for sore eyes?
Mike, are you kissing your truck again?
No.
Are you okay? Is everything alright?
Yeah. Everything's great. Mikey! You have to come back with me!
Where?
Back to the future!
Dude, what are you doing in my car?
I need fuel.
What are you doing in my car?
Hurry up, get in!
No, Fergy, Candace and I just got here. We're gonna take the truck for a spin.
Bring her along. This concerns her too. What's going on?
What happened to you, Fergy?
Oh no, you and Candace turned out fine. It's your kids, Mike. Something's gotta be done about your kids. What the hell's going on here?
Here we go.
Welcome to Mergy Movies. I'm Fergy,
I'm Big Mike,
and today is Sci-Fi September.
and we were showing Back to the Future, my favorite movie of all time. So obviously you probably know my rating already. But yeah, it's Sci-Fi September. We even have the DeLorean. Yeah, sweet. All right, so again, for the third time, we're showing Back to the Future with Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd. So Back to the Future is about your average high school guy, Marty McFly, who is friends with. Okay, I'm gonna start that again. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So Back to the Future is about a high school kid named Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, who's friends with the local scientist, Dr. Emmett Brown. He ends up meeting him at a shopping mall later on and finds out that Doc has built a time machine out of a DeLorean, and he ends up accidentally going back in time, screwing up the meeting of his parents. So, all in all, awesome movie, but Fergie, let's say what you think of this movie.
Okay, so I've seen Back to the Future quite a few times. I
Yeah.
remember in public school them showing it, I don't know how many freaking times, the point where you could almost quote the movie.
Yeah.
It's awesome 80s movie. It's one of the few 80s movies that were actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. Nothing super spectacular in terms of acting, but it's a fun movie. Everybody enjoys Back to the Future. Michael J. Fox, Christopher Lloyd. I love Christopher Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just and it also brings up the question: what would you do if you went back and were in a similar position? You go back and the first time your parents met each other and other circumstances came involved.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I've always enjoyed the movie. I'm not so big on the other two. I'm not so big on Back to the Future 2 or Back to the Future 3, but I really do enjoy the first one.
Okay. Obviously, like I've already stated, this is my favorite movie of all time. Second being Schindler's List. I know I'm a little morbid, but I like that movie. Anyway, so Back to the Future, yeah, Christopher Lloyd. Again, like you said, nothing in terms of great acting, but just good performances. I always love Michael J. Fox. He's a good person, even when he's not acting. I just love Michael J. Fox. He's great. Almost every one of his movies I've loved that he's in. When it comes to 2 or 3, I think 2 or 3 wasn't as good as 1, but it's almost like Lord of the Rings or a trilogy type of movie. It's like all those make one long story. Not as good as the first one, but a little bit of trivia is that the second one was actually meant to be as a joke when it said the end with a question mark. It actually meant to be a joke, but obviously it was such a huge hit they decided to make 2 more. But yeah, all in all, I really enjoyed this movie a lot, and I highly recommend it.
Okay, like Back to the Future to me was, like I said, in public school, I saw it at least once every year. Like every year the teacher would show it in class.
It's always on TV too. So.
Yeah, it's always on like TBS or whatever, and I don't know. I really liked the movie. I enjoyed. I don't know. I think you'd be hard pressed to find anybody who didn't enjoy Back to the Future.
Well, apparently Fred hasn't seen Back to the Future.
What? That's a lie.
He doesn't remember it apparently.
That's a lie.
He's here, but we're not going to show him on camera because that means we'd have to up our ratings to 14A. So.
But no. Oh fuck.
I know what you mean. Is that they showed him in public school and then everywhere. It's just one of those movies that most people have seen, and or at least heard of, which is a good thing. But it's a story that, first of all, the first premise of it was very interesting. The first premise was that it was a refrigerator, and that Doc had a pet monkey, and they ended up having to take the refrigerator or something like that to this nuclear testing area. Anyway, it was a horrible first script. It was redesigned because they wanted to add that element of action-y thriller with the car, and they did that. It's a very different movie in general. Can you really put science fiction? That's a
very broad brush.
Exactly. That's all I could think of. It was one of the best science fiction movies of all time, according to a couple lists I look up. But all in all, Back to the Future is like sci-fi, adventure, comedy. It's everything.
Yeah, and also, despite all those, one thing science fiction always does, it does ask a good question. It's like, what would you do if you went back in time? Especially to a pivotal point like in this guy's life where his parents met.
Yeah.
Or any other pivotal point in your life. What would you do in that place? How would, if somehow you were thrust into that, how could you respond?
Yeah.
So one of the great things about science fiction is with science fiction you can ask those type of questions.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think I'm probably digging too much into the Back to the Future idea.
I know what you mean. But it's something to examine, right? Like there's this is a funny movie, but then you could think of the other things that come out of this movie, right?
Yeah.
So, Back to the Future. Love Christopher Lloyd. Actually, I think Leah Thompson plays his mom. She's great.
Crispin Glover.
I love Crispin Glover. He should have been the Joker, even though Heath Ledger did a good job. I think Crispin Glover has the look down perfect. If they were going closer to the comic book.
Yes, he would have been perfect. He was rumored for it,
and
for a guy, he has an incredible ability. I've seen him in some newer movies he's been in.
Yeah,
he doesn't look like he's aged all that much.
No, he's a freak. He's like Dick Clark.
I know.
So
he doesn't look like he's aged any. So he could have been that. But yeah, Back to the Future, awesome movie.
Yes, I agree. Recommended, whoever hasn't seen it, unless you lived under a rock, Fred. So, out of 5, what would you give this movie?
I'd give it about a 4.1.
4.1. I like that. I'm not going to counteract your offer this time. As much, I should say. I'm going to give it, even though it's my favorite movie of all time, I'm not going to give it a 5 because, just to give you a heads up, I'm pretty much going to give Schindler's List a 5. So this movie, though, I'm going to give it a 4.7. Okay?
Oh, so we're really going
different, yeah. So if you combine it, that makes 8.8.
Nice.
8.8 out of 10. That's a very unique rating for us. Really recommend this movie. If you haven't seen the other 2, go see them. It's not as good as the first one, I'll give you a heads up. But if you watch them all, it sort of completes the story. Go check them out. But I guess right now we're going to have to part for a quick commercial break.
Yep.
So we'll
be right back.